Kathy, please.
Okay.
Okay, we're happy tonight to welcome Betsy Betros as we learn about the magic of swallowtails. We're going to find out what makes each swallowtail unique and how they share similarities with each other. And according to Betsy, she's had a lifelong love of insects. And among her many accomplishments are she has a degree in entomology from Colorado State University, focusing mostly on aquatic insects. She has a master's degree in environmental health from Kansas University. She worked 35 years for the Environmental Department of Johnson County, Kansas. She taught environmental science for 15 years at Johnson County Community College. She's also an author. She wrote Butterflies of the Kansas City Region. Now she's enjoying retirement, and in that retirement, she studies and photographs invertebrates on her 5 acres of land. She has submitted more than 4,000 invertebrate images to bugguide.net, including some rare species. And I'd like to encourage you to be sure to check that out. It's bugguide.net. There are many photos. It's very searchable for specific insects. And it was something new for me, so I hope you'll enjoy it too. So let's learn about swallowtails. And Betsy, we're looking forward to this evening. Thank you for coming.
Hey, well, thank you. Well, I'll just start off here. You got to remember to keep looking in that mirror or that camera. So I appreciate the offer to come in to your meeting and talk about swallowtail butterflies. I like all butterflies, but swallowtails are certainly some of the most impressive ones. So you're going to learn a little bit about them. Well, actually quite a bit about them through this slideshow. Oops. So swallowtail butterflies belong to the family Papilionidae. And if there's anybody out there that knows how to pronounce a lot of scientific names way better than I do, just be patient, because I don't always pronounce these words particularly well, but I get them out. Anyway, swallowtail butterflies are often the most recognized of the butterflies because they're big and colorful, beautiful. In fact, the largest butterfly in the world is the Queen Alexander's birdwing, and it's in Papua New Guinea in a very specific location, and its wingspan can almost be extended to a 12-inch ruler. So it's pretty huge. Ours don't go that big, but they're still impressive. So butterflies and moths both belong to the order of insects called Lepidoptera, and lepa means scale wings, and then ptera means wing, and that's shared by other orders of insects like the Coleoptera. That means ptera, they have got wings, and Diptera and Hymenoptera. So it's common in the names of not all, but quite a few of the orders of insects. So the one thing that really distinct is what makes their color, or where their color is produced, is the shingles. Sounds like the commercial for shingles. Like roof shingles on the, whether it's a moth or whether it's a butterfly, they're layered on like shingles, and they vary with the number and style and shape depending on the species. And these scales are made of chitin, which is a type of protein, same as our fingernails are chitin. So the butterfly wing membrane, and you can see through this butterfly, the far end of the butterfly wing has no scales on this particular swallowtail. This is a Costa Rica swallowtail, I think. So the membrane that all the scales sit on is also chitin. So lots of chitin goes around there. And studies have demonstrated that swallowtails, for whatever reason, have a unique class of pigments in their wing structure, their color structure, appropriately referred to as papiliochromes. So wing colors have many biological functions. They obviously for sexual attraction, to warn not to eat me, to mimicry, to hide, and or to look like something else, and camouflage to hide. And they're also very important in thermal regulation, because even though butterflies are a summer insect, well, most insects are summer, but there are a lot in the winter too, living under bark and all. They do have to thermoregulate because it's hot for us and it's hot for them. But recent research into butterfly wing color has revealed this amazing new knowledge, and that historically it was known that the coloration of the scales were either pigmented or they were structural. But now it's found out that in the green butterflies particularly, it's not solid pigments or nanostructures of the scales, but color of the cuticular membrane. So to expand on that a little bit, the wing structures differ. Believe it or not, the wings are membranes, and there's one side and the other side. So there's actually two membranes squished together there, except that in the case of the swallowtails, they actually have their space about 5 to 10 millimeter or microns in depth, and there's actually liquid, green liquid is held and living cells are present. And that's where the green coloration is coming for butterflies. Now, we don't have any of these quite in this area, but still, it's a third form of coloration. And it's amazing because you look at all the different scales and they all have the different colors, but they all are shingle-like here, here, and there's different numbers, thicker and whiter and all different things. But then you come to the like the blue morpho, and you think, wow, that's blue. That's got to be some blue scales. Well, it's actually not. And the coloration is basically derived from how the erector set that sits between the wing sides of the membrane, or the membrane sides. So this is a scanning electron microscope picture. They're not my pictures of the structure that's in there, which is, I mean, it's really exciting that there's so much going on and you don't think anything about it when you see the wing of a butterfly. But there's structure in there, so when the white light enters the wing, it gets diffracted by the structure or the nanostructure of the erector set that makes up the wing. And what winds up is only blue. Blue comes out. So we see it, Morpho's wings as blue. If you were to see these at dusk or getting kind of dark out, they wouldn't be blue anymore. They'd just be dull because they're not receiving much white light. And of course, I just talked about the liquid in the green butterflies. So here's a couple more scanning electron microscope pictures, which would, again, they're not mine, but here, close up of this particular scale with this particular shape to it. If you scan it even more, you get this. You get the big wing has these big veins, what look like veins. Then you just got this checkerboard design here on the next one. And all of them are involved with, coloration and function of the wings. So there's this nanostructure of stuff. It's just mind-blowing. So for example, if you were to look at the wing and cross section, you might see these are schematic diagrams here that kind of look like some kind of pine tree. But what they are is they have these hills and valleys or ridges and canyons structure along the way. So the white light again comes in, but the only thing we see, the only one that comes out is blue. So again, that's how we see blue. And that's the same thing for birds like blue jays and bluebirds. Those are also not pigments. They're also based on refraction of the wing structure or feather structure. And here's a real close up of one of the shingles, so to speak, and it's sort of attached to a little vase there, looks like. Excuse me. So there's a lot of genera of swallowtails and parnassians. You might ask, what in the heck is a parnassian? Well, they're in the same group as swallowtails. We don't have those here. I think they're all Western species. I'm not for sure. So there's 33 genera of swallowtails and parnassians, and then 8 tropical strays. And worldwide, it's not a huge family, not like other insects, but 560 species worldwide. And you get like this one's called a kite swallowtail. Cattle hearts, it doesn't have the swallowtail, but still considered a swallowtail. The birdwing, and then this one with androjuice swallowtail, something like that. They didn't tell my names. They didn't tell me their names when I photographed them. So, like beetles and flies, butterflies and moths have 4 stages of growth. The boys and the girls have to find each other. They mate. And then it varies where they lay their eggs. In this case, those were pipevine swallowtails mating. And pipevine swallowtails will, are you guys seeing my arrow, or should I be over here? Ooh, I'm not sure. They in a bunches like this because the pipevine swallowtail caterpillars feed in herds, and they can really do a number on a pipevine leaf, but they don't damage the plant. Here's one that probably just came out of the egg, and then they have these soft bodies. The exoskeleton is such and so big, and as the caterpillar eats and expands and fills that up, it splits with a new exoskeleton that's kind of loose, and it fills that up. So the one thing caterpillars are real good at, and I always tell people, if you believe in reincarnation, come back as a caterpillar, because all they do is eat, 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 and they don't feel guilty about it. Now, when they go to form a chrysalis or a pupa, they have to get rid of something. Well, the insides, their innards, their intestinal stomach area, that doesn't get transformed into anything else on the butterfly when it goes to the pupal state. So they have to regurgitate that. So that's just upchucking the contents of their stomach. And if you're hand raising caterpillars in your house, when you see them start doing that, you know they're getting on the verge of forming a chrysalis. So then they kind of shrink down, get kind of pudgy, get the shape and location where they're going to be, and they eventually form the chrysalis or the pupa. This one is kind of brownish and dark brownish, light brownish, almost looks like a dead leaf. So a lot of, when you're on the bottom of the food chain, everybody wants to eat you. So figuring out ways to avoid being eaten is kind of important. Not that they intentionally figure out ways. Who knows what happens over millions of years. So again, you'll see the veins. This is a recently emerged black swallowtail. And their wings dry out, and then they're ready to fly off. And we have 6 species of tigers or swallowtails in the Kansas City region, which I'll be going through. And one note is the Latin names. Well, not so much the Latin names, but when someone has named a butterfly, given its genus and species, it has to have been published in some form, and the specimen in theory should be residing in some natural history museum. Doesn't always happen, but in this case, this particular one, the pipevine, was originally described by Linnaeus, but that has 1991 after it. Well, if anybody knows about Linnaeus, he lived in the 1700s. But what happened is that somebody later on redefined, I don't know whether it was genus or species that they changed. And that the parentheses mean that as well. And this one, for example, on the zebra, it was originally named by Kramer, but they can't find any documentation on exactly when it was published. And it's estimated that was 1777. So that's in brackets. So all these things have, they tell you different information. But I think it's really cool to look at when somebody named the butterfly or plant, animal, whatever. And to think about Linnaeus is the father of our modern taxonomy, a binomial system of genus and species. So these two, for example, spicebush and eastern tiger swallowtail were all named by him in 1758, and they have not changed in their Latin name since then. So I'm going to start first with 4 of the 6, and these are 4 that actually utilize mimicry, and that's the pipevine, the black swallowtail, the dark form eastern swallowtail, and I'll talk more about these here shortly, and the spicebush swallowtail. So the pipevine swallowtail is a beautiful butterfly. This one happens to be feeding on Buddleia, and I know a lot of people don't like that. It's not native, and in some parts of the country, like the Northwest, it's become invasive. Mine just eventually die out. They don't spread, so I don't know how you get ones that don't spread. But anyway, the butterflies do like it. Nothing eats it, but they like it. So one thing, you can have your fancy cameras to take pictures, but you can also, the cell phones these days take incredible pictures. So this is a picture, slow motion picture of a pipevine swallowtail on a windy day, and that's how fast their wings are beating. But then I did slow-mo. So it's feeding on pinta, which is an annual flower that's good for your garden. It's a good pot plant, and butterflies enjoy that too. But this one's trying to hold on for dear life because even though it's in slow motion, it's blowing heck a lot right now.
Betsy, we're not seeing the video move.
Do you see it now?
No, we can see the address for the video, but we're not seeing a video.
Oh, I'm not sure. Well, shoot. I'm not sure why not. Let's see. Do you have any suggestions?
I don't, but you are seeing the video?
Yeah, I am. That's too bad. Let's see. Let me pull it up over here.
Someone said, is it showing up as a separate window?
That could be, but now how to unseparate it?
You might be able to share your entire desktop instead of just PowerPoint.
Oh, that could be. Desktop. Schedule return to meeting. Okay, share. Let's see, share multiple. And sharing. Who can share? Who can start sharing? Oh, those all look like they're set right.
Hmm.
Hmm. Well,
I would maybe just go on.
can you see it now?
No.
Yeah. Well, crud. Yeah. Let me.
Jen shared it in the chat, the link. So
Yeah, let me. I gotta get out of. I gotta get back to the original slideshow. Let me get here. Okay. Let me see if I can. If this will work. Oh, that didn't work. Okay.
I mean, oh, something's happening here. But if this doesn't work, we can just keep going and see if the next one does. But whatever you
Yeah.
just brought up there is showing us a corner of its screen.
Does it show it?
You have to slide it to the left.
Okay. This is not being cooperative and letting me do that. Yeah. Go away. Sorry,
We actually
everybody.
No, don't worry. That we actually have the link in our chat, so we can come back and have a look at that. Hopefully, do you have other videos?
Yeah, I have a number of them. Now
Are
I'm
they
trying to
set
get
up
out
similar
of
to this?
Yeah, they'd be the same thing. Advanced sharing. Okay, that's all normal. Now, how do I get out of this for crying out loud? View. Okay, speaker, gallery, multi-speaker tree. Here. There we go. Get out of that. God. Okay. Oh, crud. Sorry. I mean, okay. Now, is that visible?
We're back to a screen that says video of pipevine, and it has a link to a Facebook page. But we don't see the video. But
How about here?
nothing changed.
Nothing changed. Okay, well,
I would just go on
Yeah,
and we'll
yeah,
see
we-
what happens.
Answer screen.
darn, I practiced all this earlier, but I didn't think about it whether or not it would come through.
Yeah,
So that's
I
not-
think you'd have to share your desktop instead of share one program.
Share my desktop. I don't see where I would do that.
That's okay. Just go ahead, and we will use our imagination as we're thinking of pipevines.
Okay, well, when you watch the video. Okay, well, sorry about that. Okay, let's get out of here. Well, they're really fun videos. Okay, now let's get out of here. We need to get back to the Zoom thing. Okay, well, okay. I'm not sure what just now happened. I've lost my Zoom thing. Oh, maybe here it is. Here it is. Okay, whew, that was a total disaster. Okay, well, you'll find those little links. These are some videos I've made. The one thing about it's fun with your cell phones because you can take all these, you can really take good pictures with your camera, cell phone camera. But anyway, the caterpillars of the, can you see this now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Whew. Okay, we'll skip that other stuff. So they feed on
Don't worry, Betsy. It's good to know you're just like the rest of us.
Oh yeah, it's yeah, frustrating. Anyway, the caterpillars feed on plants of the genus Aristolichia, which I think that I actually pronounced that right, or pipevine. And in the Kansas City area, we have one pipevine species, and that's the Virginia snakeroot, but it's on the east side of the city. But pipevine is planted by lots of people around Kansas City at this point in time, just butterfly lovers. And it, excuse me, it grows very well here. So it's pretty well established, and you can get pipevine swallowtails surprisingly quickly once you start planting it. Although it does take a few years to grow big enough because you don't want them to come in when your vine is, like little tiny thing, because they'll eat it all. So the vine is very easy to grow, but then it comes to control of said vine when you don't know what you're doing when you bought the plant. So I bought tomentosa, which grows really well, but it also suckers all over the place. It goes under the sidewalk, it goes under the driveway. It pops up everywhere. It might even pop up in my house for all I know. Hasn't yet, but so if you're out to buy a pipevine to plant in your garden, make sure you got an area that can accept a lot of vines. Tomentosa is a native, but it suckers really badly. But macrophylla is also a native pipevine, and it doesn't sucker all over the place. So if you're planning on planting one, plant that one. And like names change for whatever reason. DNA analyses change, cause things to move around. So actually, for that plant, there's a new genus name, Isotrema tomentosum, but Astrolichia, I think, is still pretty heavily used. It's just a neater name. So here's the vine. Here's the vines of the tomentosa. Big leaves. Get lots of chew marks on them. So pipevine gets its name because of the shape of the flower, which is like an old style pipe, and it's not fertilized by butterflies, but by flies and gnats because it gives off a somewhat stinky odor. And so it's flies and gnats that take the role of pollination. Now you can also buy Astrolichia fimbriata. This grows really well in pots. If you do grow it in pots, you do have to take the pots inside, otherwise they'll freeze off. But you can plant them in your garden as a ground cover, and they actually do quite well, and doesn't get any problems. And this is a close up of the what Lenora Larson, who took these pictures for me, she calls it the eyelash flower. So pipeline swallowtails are poisonous to eat. And in case you're thinking about having a pipeline swallowtail dinner, just like wild plants, you really want to know what you're dealing with before you ever try to eat anything from the wild, because the most dangerous, most poisonous substances come from nature. But anyway, these orange spots, kind of little railroads there on their back, they believe are the warning. It's a warning coloration to potential predators to stay away. I not only do I not taste good, but I can kill you. And in fact, the ingestion, if you or I were to ingest the caterpillar, we probably wouldn't, because I would think they taste awful, but it could actually lead to irreversible kidney failure. So that's pretty serious stuff. That's pretty big stuff. But apparently mammalian herbivores must know they aren't safe to eat. So it's not like you see a bunch of dead animals all over the place. Mother Nature takes care of itself. But also, while the caterpillar is incorporating these poisons that are from the plant itself, when they pupate, those poisons are transferred to the adult butterfly. So the adult butterfly is also poisonous. And it's nice, the toxin's called Aristolithic. See, that's why they can't change the genus name. So they're poisonous to ingest, but they've also got warning colors, big orange dots there. When you're looking at pipevine swallowtails versus the others, it's this really beautiful iridescent blue on the underwings that separates it so well from other similar looking swallowtails. And all your swallowtails, along with lots of other butterflies, will do what's called peddling, and they'll find an area by a creek or some moist area, and they will puddle there. And that's believed it's mostly males, and they may be getting minerals that are good for semen development, but females also puddle. And I remember reading something, it was a National Geographic photographer, I think, was taking photos of, he had put his own spot out there, because if you put pee out there, it's really good at attracting them. And he had laid down to take pictures of these puddling butterflies. And then he thought, I think I'm laying on everybody else's pee in this group. So somewhat amusing there. But you can see here's the proboscis that's feeding and getting some good juices. So males and females may or may not vary in coloration and the swallowtails. This is the pipevine. So this is a male and this is a female. Female's usually a little duller, but sometimes there's no real difference. Now, because of the poisonous nature of the pipevine swallowtail, that leads to the next three species of swallowtails that are not poisonous to insect predators, but they kind of look poisonous. So hopefully maybe some predators won't bother them. And that's the black swallowtail, the spicebush swallowtail, and the tiger swallowtail. One thing they're invoking mostly is a Batesian mimicry right here, where a harmless animal acts or looks like a distasteful or dangerous species. Now, these aren't swallowtails in this picture, but this is a red-spotted purple, and it's also considered a mimic of the pipevine swallowtail with its a really beautiful blue color and all their orange spots. And it's thought that they also are achieving some protection from being eaten. And of course, there's the famous ever monarch mimic, which is the viceroy butterflies. And these two are not related in any way. They're totally separate families. Viceroy, you can tell by this lines on the the hind wings, which right now they looks kind of like a U, but sometimes it looks a lot like a V as a way to remember viceroy versus the monarch. Monarch also is poisonous, and the monarch is getting poisons through the caterpillars from eating the milkweed, because the milkweed contains toxins, and that toxins is carried on forth into the adults. Now, as humans, we may think that insect color and patterns are for our wonderful appreciation. Oh, Mother Nature was so nice to make these beautiful butterflies. But since butterflies evolved millions of years before we did, that's not the case, but I guess we can feel like it is. So black swallowtail, it's one of the three. Black swallowtails are a nifty butterfly because they're really easy to rear. The caterpillars feed on plants in the parsley family, so parsley and fennel and dill and even some of the poisonous hemlock. It feeds on a lot of things, but they are easy to grow. They grow pretty fast. So as far as like rearing them inside with your kids or grandkids, or just for you if you want to do it, they're easy to rear, and then they hatch out and they become these beautiful black swallowtails. This is the female. They are different, dimorphically different. That she has this beautiful blue along here, and the male just has this spectacular yellow dots there. So one common mistake people will make, because these two caterpillars look a lot alike. This happens to be a monarch caterpillar, but people often think it looks similar to the black swallowtail caterpillar, and they'll dutifully move the black swallowtail caterpillar over to the milkweed, and that doesn't work that way. So don't fret. It's a common mistake to be made. Just trust the butterfly, trust the caterpillar. And as all caterpillars grow, they outgrow their exoskeleton. That gets removed and another layer comes on, and they eat till that's full. And many of the caterpillars do vary in pattern and coloration between each of those molts. These are some examples here. I don't know in what order these are. This is on parsley. This, I think, is on fennel. That's fennel. And this is rue. Rue is a garden herb. I'm sure you can use it for cooking with something, but I never pay attention to that. But I just grow it because black swallowtails will also feed on it. And again, eat. This is just zoom, would eat that down in no time. Little piece of fennel. Now, all your swallowtails have what are called osmeterium. They're these kind of fleshy protuberances that they can exert when they need to, and they stink. Now, from us humans, they stink, but not that horrible. But you think about it, but their potential predators think they stink. When you think about it, a caterpillar just has these teeny tiny little eyes that are ocelli. They're not even forming an image. So they're not going to know about anybody coming after them. So this is a way to try to dissuade predators. And in fact, there's been research done that it is successful at dissuading predators, not just humans. I mean, we kind of deal with it, but it's effective at reducing predation by ants and small spiders, and its chemical constituents have been known to repel or kill ants and mantids. So this happens to be a pretty effective mechanism. Here's another series of black swallowtail caterpillars. These are cute. I actually didn't put them this way. That's what I saw on the stem. One way, when you're looking for caterpillars of any kind, look for their poop. And this little black droppings here, of course, you can see these obviously, but looking around on vegetation, look for some little poop, darkish, different sizes of poop, and then look up. You might close your mouth just in case. Look up and or look around, and you might find a caterpillar. So again, these are dramatic. These are all black swallowtails, and they eventually get huge and big, and they form a chrysalis. Here's one eating the last of that needs. This is the head. The head. There's modified salivary glands, and that's what forms silk in the butterflies, which I'll show here. I just thought this was an adorable picture. So this is one that's getting ready to pupate. And I just think its toes are just adorable. You just want to kind of cuddle up with them. Anyway, all swallowtails do this. They use silk to attach their rear end, and that silk comes from modified salivary glands, unlike spiders that comes out of spinnerets on the tail end. And they actually they hold themselves up with what they call a girdle, which again is just a lot of thick part of silk. There's a closer view of the girdle. And they can form chrysalises or chrysalids either in a brown form or yellow green form. You might think, well, if they're on green plants, they do this, brown plants, they do that, but there's no cause and effect there. You can find brown ones on green plants and green ones on brown plants, but for whatever reason, they do have two different color forms in their chrysalis. And these were kind of hilarious. This was raising a lot of them. And I guess they decided that the place to make a new chrysalis was on top of the old chrysalis, which hasn't emerged yet. I don't know if they did or not. It's kind of funny. But eventually, after about 10 days in the case of black swallowtails, the adult has completely formed and has now coming out of the chrysalis upside down, basically. It's an easier way to let gravity pull you out of there. And eventually you're pulled out and you got wrinkled wings, but then you pump fluid, insect blood, basically through all the vein systems to turn your wings into nice, strong, relatively dry wings to fly with. Now, one thing cool when you are raising caterpillars, because it takes quite a while for them they have to dry. It can be several hours before they're strong enough to fly. But then it's handy because with fresh specimens like that one on the lower right there, you can get it walk on your finger. Like if you're sweaty and your brow is sweaty, kind of move your hand across your brow, you get all that sweat there, and you kind of slowly carry it to the front of or scoot it to the front of the butterfly and let its proboscis start sensing it, and then it'll just crawl right onto your finger. So that's a thrill. And I think for kids especially, being able to hold a butterfly is really, really, I mean, when you can hold something, it just gives you a whole different outlook on nature. This is also black swallowtail, and this is on the rose verbena, which is a native wildflower. It can also grow in gardens. It doesn't grow very tall. It smells really good, but it grows close to the ground, so it's hard to appreciate the smell unless you really get down close. But that's another good plant to plant. This one's on slender mountain mint, another really attractive plant for butterflies. Now, sometimes when you're out observing butterflies, you might be seeing, this is what I saw with this particular black swallowtail. It was bouncing up and down through a prairie or kind of an overgrown area. And it would bounce up and down and stay there for a little while. And when they do that behavior, you're pretty sure that's a female looking for a place to lay eggs. She can actually sense the chemical makeup of the plant through her feet. And when it says that it's the plant she needs, in this case, prairie parsley, she turns her abdomen over in a C like that and lays an egg. In her case, she only lays one egg per plant. There we go. And they also grow all through the growing season with 3 broods during the summer. So you're good to see them all summer long. Excuse me. Now, photographing butterflies, as you see, I take lots of pictures. It does take lots of patience and stealth and lots of photos, and keeping a good round of cuss words in your pocket. Because one thing or the other, it's nice to put. Nature's so lovely and peaceful. Oh, that's not true. That's lovely, peaceful, sort of. But anyway, just, practice lots of photos. And then another fun thing when you're taking photographs, you can then go like into, okay. Now I'm dropping that name. Anyway, go into software that has artistic things. Like this is a line drawing of the butterfly. It makes a different picture of the butterfly. So the next one that looks is blackish and also it's believed mimics the pipevine is the spicebush swallowtail. It's not very common in the Kansas City area because it feeds on sassafras. Sassafras isn't common up here. It doesn't grow very well. Spicebush people plant, and that does grow pretty well, and so you might be able to get some colony of them, but like this one was taken down in the Ozarks. Again, there's usually 3 broods of this guy, this to enjoy all summer long. So, in spice bush, the males have a greenish color, females bluish. It's not always that easy to tell the difference on. This one's on Verbena bonariensis, which is not native, but it's not invasive, but it also attracts butterflies really, really nicely. This is on our ever favorite bergamot out in a prairie situation. Definitely, bergamot is definitely a big one. Trouble with bergamot in a garden system, gardens are not natural, so they don't have the natural controls of like a well-established prairie or woodland. So bergamot can just grow out of control, which happened in one of my gardens in that old house I had. I would spend considerable amount of time pulling up hundreds and hundreds of bergamot plants because I didn't need that many. I had other things planted there. Now, this one's a spice bush. This one's a pipevine. They look kind of similar, but the pipevine has all these orange dots, but you'll notice on the spice bush, they're missing a dot there. You might think, well, that's not very obvious, but it is obvious when you're looking at them. And again, puddling away there. But perhaps more interesting than the butterfly is the caterpillar. And this is the caterpillar. And you might think, wow, those are big eyes. Well, those aren't eyes whatsoever, but they're intended to scare predators away because if there's big eyes, maybe there's a big mouth behind those eyes. And their eyes are just these little ocelli, a circle of these little dots. So they don't resolve an image. They kind of see light and dark, but not great for protecting them. And these guys form what we like to call a taco, where they fold the leaf together and then they can live in there. You can see this one on the right. It's doing the, it goes back and forth with the silk until it pulls the leaf together. So it provides a nice, safe place to eat without being as exposed to predators. And this one here, when they turn yellow, this is actually when they're going to pupate. This picture is by Linda Williams. If anybody knows who she is, she's a great photographer. So this again is all yellow, and now it's getting ready to pupate. It finds a spot, does the same swallowtail thing. The little tail end with silk is attached to one end, and then the silk girdles to the other one. And these also come in different colors. I don't think anybody's ever figured out why, wherefore, or whatever. Brown, green, yellow. They all come out the same at the other end. Tithonia is a good garden plant. Again, it's not native, but it's a really good, it's really nice. It grows tall and it's really nice for butterflies are quite attracted to it. This is Verbena bonariensis, again, not native, but it is an annual or a perennial. It doesn't grow spectacularly. And of course, bergamot, and this is Pinta. Pinta, good plant to plant in pots around your garden. So in many ways, I consider chasing butterflies to be a sport. I've hurt myself a few times. I actually broke my leg one time. That was quite interesting. But I can't chase anymore. So I use, just real quickly, I use my camera, my digital SLR. I use a 105 macro lens to doing close-ups. But if I can't get very close to the subject, which happens now because I can't get down to the ground anymore, I have a 600 millimeter that I put on my camera with this type of, whatever it's called. Now I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, to take pictures of bigger insects. Then we have the tiger swallowtail, and you go, well, that's not black. How can this be mimicking the pipevine swallowtail? Well, it does. And okay, can you see this picture? Whoever out there in Zoom land?
Yes.
So you can see the picture. Can you see it moving?
We see the picture. Yes, yes.
Ah.
Slow motion.
Well, I have that embedded in the slideshow. That's probably why. The others, I just had links to my Facebook pages. That must be why. Well, here's a tiger swallowtail feeding on garden phlox. Again, it's not native, but it's a great, beautiful flower that seems to like hot, miserable summers. and this zebra or tiger swallowtail's enjoying it. And I'm gonna have you watch through till how far? Yeah, just watch. Before long, he's gonna start trying to really flap his wings hard, and then whoop, takes off and just glides down. And again, you can do this with your cell phone. Now, one thing about wings, we think about wings that they've dried out and now the butterfly can fly, but butterfly wings are actually active. They're alive. They're not dead. So there's, as we've already pointed out, there's inner workings of the inside between the two membranous levels. And they're connected all by hemolymph, which is butterfly blood. And what's important is that it also helps control temperature. Now here's a bunch of high-flying tiger swallowtails, and you'll notice that I got a black one here. Well, that's a female. And if you have tiger swallowtails living where there's pipevine swallowtails, the females, and nobody knows what the mechanism that causes this to happen, the females come out black to simulate pipevine swallowtails. So like if you go down the Missouri Ozarks where pipevine is real common, all the females are going to be black. Here in Kansas City, we're on definitely a northern edge, and you'll have yellow females and black females. It's just, again, trying to figure out the mechanism by which it knows to do that is amazing. And here's a close-up of a female, but you can see still residual are this tiger stripes, because you got the tiger stripes up on the upper side and you can see them on the lower side. So that's a giveaway that that's a female. It's not always easy to tell, but you know, the more you try, the better you get, or you just ignore them and go on to the next one. This one's again on Buddleia. This is on Joe Pieweed. This is on purple coneflower. Oh, Wild Sweet William. Always amazes me. It's just a delicate flower. And there's one hanging on for dear life to get nectar from the Wild Sweet William. And this is one of the Liatris's gay feathers and slender mountain mint. Now, butterflies are not always thought of as being much of a pollinator because they don't intentionally collect pollen. Only bees collect pollen for their bees and bumblebees. They're the only ones that collect pollen to feed their young. So for this guy to get pollen on him is more accidental, but it's useful because they're visiting flower after flower after flower. So their pollen can knock off onto a flower and pollinate the flower. And this, I just put this in. This is a butterfly zebra or tiger swan. Hold on, we're talking about tiger here. Just starting to launch off the plant here, the slender mountain mint there. Kind of an impressive look there. And they, just like all the other swallowtails, they love to puddle. And they can be pretty thick and pretty abundant. And that's also a good place to take pictures because they have one thing on their mind, which is puddling, and they hold still for you. Now, tiger swallowtails, the males are very territorial, and you can see them flying in the sky above you, and they're basically patrolling their territory. They're hoping a girl comes by and finds them delightful, and they find true love and mate, and and then they eventually produce eggs, which grow into caterpillars. Again, these are tiger swallowtail caterpillars coming in all different colors. But all the same species. And one reason you'll see them patrolling in the sky is that they feed more on trees. So they're also kind of a suburbia butterfly. No, so they feed on ash if there's any ash left in the world. Wild cherry, tulip tree, hop tree, and sweet bay. Oh, there's just a question. I'll digress on that. Butterflies are pollinators, but they aren't collecting, they're not intentionally collecting pollen, which your bumblebees and bees do. But they are pollinators because they have fuzzy bodies and that pollen latches onto that, and they fertilize flowers as they move around. That's a big difference between pollinators, is that there's those that selectively collect pollen, and then there's all the rest that want the nectar and who knows what else they're eating. But the pollen is secondary to what they're doing. But it goes ahead and pollinates. No question about that. Oh, whoops, go back. This is a plant. I don't know if you have this in Illinois. This has the strange name of mullein foxglove. It's not a foxglove. It's not mullein. It's in the figwort family, and it holds really tight the opening. So little butterflies have no luck getting any nectar out of it. But big, strong swallowtails like this tiger swallowtail, you can see the proboscis working its way down there to get some good sweets. Here's buttonbush is another good one to plant. Here's some more purple coneflowers. This is a Joe Pye weed, and then slender mountain mint. I got a lot of slender mountain mint because it's really good. Oops, I think those are the same. Another thing when you're taking photos, you can do more than just look at the picture of a butterfly and go, wow, that's a really cool tiger swallowtail. But what might be nice is to zoom in on parts of the picture. Photoshop, that's what I couldn't remember a few slides ago. Like this one looks like it's got a pink petticoat on. That's just a zinnia that it's on. But zoom into all the different small parts of the butterfly that are so intriguing. Here's one on compass flower. And when you are focusing on butterflies or any insects, you want to make sure the head's in focus. So like you would not want to focus on this butterfly. Now, cell phones, you really don't select on where you focus because of the nature of how they are. But with a regular SLR, so you don't focus here because that may mean the head is out of focus. And we are naturally drawn to the eyes and the head. And if it's out of focus, the picture's very uninteresting. It's interesting the effect that is. So you want to focus toward the head to get the primary focus. Zebra swallowtails might be one of my favorite, could be my favorite swallowtail if need be. They feed on pawpaws, and pawpaws are generally near waterways. Male and females are similar. They can be found April to October. Again, three plus broods like the other swallowtails. The spring brood has shorter tails, and the summer brood has longer tails. Okay, so you should be able to see this one too. So this is a zebra swallowtail on slender mountain mint. And I found it intriguing that its swallowtails are wiggling so much as they are. And I posted it for some questions. And people said, oh, that's just because their wings are moving. But it's not, or it's windy, and that was not the case. So there's some function that's going on there that people are just saying it's the wings, but not at all. Okay, and here's some pictures again. The zebra, or God, I guess there's so many swallowtails. The zebra, yeah, it's zebra. She lays single eggs. Again, not like the pipevine that puts a whole bunch down in one spot. Again, these are all different stages. That's some exuvia, or the exoskeleton that probably came off this guy. But if it's on pawpaw, it's gonna be these guys. Pawpaws can grow, even though they mostly grow in moist areas, they can grow in not so moist areas. Pawpaws have these brown flowers, which are pretty cool looking, I think. But they aren't exactly going to win any prizes for the most gorgeous, but they don't have to, because pawpaws are fertilized by or pollinated by flies, and flies like stinky stuff. And they actually have they don't have a nice fragrance, it's a stinky fragrance. And the flies are pollinating them. And in some areas where pawpaws are grown commercially, they'll actually put rotting meat out in the field, or not field, the place where all the pawpaw trees are, orchard, because that'll attract even more flies. And again, here's a couple pictures of the larva, and kind of a pudgy chrysalis there. And I just think they're just beautiful. I really like them. There's butterfly milkweed. That's the #1 thing you want in your garden. And when you go to a nursery, don't buy a little sprout. make sure you buy something that's got either buds or flowers on it, because it can take 4 or 5 years before you even get any flowers. And here's on milkweed. I think that's common milkweed. And I don't remember where I took that, because that's not from up here. Slender mountain mint again. This is unfortunately an autumn olive, which was my mom planted buku years ago and always attracted butterflies, but it never grew berries. And then one season it suddenly decided to grow fruit. And now I have these trees all over the place, even though I cut down absolutely every bit of it and cleaned it off into a trash bag. But that liked it. And again, zeroing in on different parts of the butterfly is cool, because they're just, I don't know, it's just interesting. Maybe if you're an artist, doing things from little sections of the butterfly. This one's clearly a summer zebra swallowtail with a really long tail on lantana. Lantana is not, it's a common flower garden, but it's not it's an annual. So there's one thing frustrating to people that are us that just kind of want to learn names, is that the scientists out there, or taxonomists out there, are finding ways to figure out how insects are related to each other differently. So like this tiger or the zebra swallowtail, it's now supposedly considered Protographium, which is weird. But it's also been called Eurytides, this one, and this one, Papilio. Linnaeus actually named all butterflies Papilio, but that all changed because they weren't all related. So name changing is always going on. Okay, giant swallowtails. It's our largest butterfly, even though tiger swallowtails can be as big or maybe bigger, but the giant swallowtails. Whoops. Previous. There's only 2 broods of these guys. Here again, we've got them on Liatris or gay feather, and this is on Agastache, which is another good garden plant for butterflies. And what's interesting about them again is it's the larva, it's a caterpillar. We'll skip this now that I found out why that didn't work. Again, focusing on close areas again is fun to focus and make patterns out of. Again, this is like getting a butterfly to get on your hand right after it's come out of the chrysalis. It's mostly dried, but now it's on your arm or your finger. And again, looking for patterns, I think, is quite delightful. This one makes it look like a whole different butterfly. Again, that wonderful orange milkweed, butterfly milkweed. It doesn't take much care. It doesn't want a lot of fertilizer. It doesn't want a lot of water. So it's great for my kind of gardening, which I water it when I get around to it. And the tiger, or the here I go again, getting all them mixed up. The giant swallowtail, this is on pale purple coneflower. That's a tallgrass prairie flower. Here's purple coneflower. It's more of a woodland flower. Again, that wonderful, I had one year that I had so much Cinder Mountain mint in my 5 acres of remnant prairie. Or 3 acres of remnant prairie. It was just unbelievable insects, more than not just butterflies, but all sorts of other insects were out there feeding on there. And they've got long legs. So even though you think about Slender Mountain mint, those are little tiny flowers. So if a big old butterfly like a giant swallowtail stuck its proboscis down there and go on down through the flower. But look at how long their legs are. So their legs can keep them at a height such that they can just nibble in there to get the nectar without damaging the proboscis. Oh, there's an arrow. They like to puddle too. Again, a great way of taking pictures. And this is a little bit about thistles. A lot of people think all thistles are bad, and they aren't. This is called tall thistle or roadside thistle. It's a native thistle. And I didn't put a picture in here good, but if the underside of the leaf of the thistle is white, then it's one of our native ones. If it's not, it's one of our obnoxious and invasive ones. But this one, I definitely let this grow in my prairie, or in wherever it wants to grow, it grows because it just brings in all sorts of pollinators. And here's where we get cool is our caterpillars. Here's a wee little one. They keep getting a little bigger and a little bigger. And they feed on prickly ash, which is in the citrus family. And they basically are looking like bird poo. And apparently, predators don't like to eat bird poo. So they're getting some protection from that. And they keep going bigger and bigger. You can see it's fun to look at how this one eating, kind of eat with a rounded spots there. Anyway, there's all different ages of them. But they also have the osmeterium, like I showed in the black swallowtail. These are pretty impressive ones. Now they're not always out. They exert them when they needed. But again, odors that are due to deter predators. Now, and then they're looking like something else. So it's Batesian mimicry. And you might think, oh, no, that's a caterpillar. But that lower right thing is bird poop, which looks a lot like a giant swallowtail. They also are amazing because they feed on prickly ash, and prickly ash, if anybody's touched it, there's a ton of prickles on them, little spines that are quite sharp. And again, looking up close at the butterfly caterpillar, this might look like this huge head with a couple eyes. Those are fake eyes, a mouth, fake mouth. Just underneath there is the head, the real head. Now we got another one contemplating pupating. They're all lined up on its twig. And these are both giant swallowtail caterpillars that have pupated. And eventually come out again as a beautiful giant swallowtail. We'll skip that one. So basically, I want to thank you for listening to me. I went over a lot of information. I hope you enjoyed it. If you are interested in getting a butterfly book, these are for sale on Amazon.com. The butterflies in the Kansas City region that I authored. So anyway, there you have it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Betsy.
Yep.
I'm going to look through the chat here to see if we have any questions. But if you have questions, please put them in our chat so that we can give Betsy a chance to answer. Let me start at the beginning. Well, actually, Michelle made a comment as you were getting started that she learned there are 10 moths for every butterfly species. Is that?
Oh,
Can
that could be.
true?
The moths are. Oh my goodness.
That's a lot of moths. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kansas and Missouri both have about 2,500 species of moths, and butterflies are nowhere near that. No, there's enormous more moths than butterflies. They've been enormously more successful. And yeah, and then you start studying moths, and you could really go crazy.
I'm sure. And Kathy pointed out that near Central Illinois, anyway, Wildlife Prairie Park has a butterfly garden with a pipevine arbor. Two words that I can't say next to each other, but I've been there and it is amazing. It is beautiful.
So
if you're in the area,
do you get the caterpillars?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
They are in the
area. That's
wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah. John asked the question, and I think you touched on it, but how far do caterpillars travel away from their host plants before they form their chrysalis?
Well, that varies with the butterfly. Some will go ahead and pupate on the host plant. Others, like black swallowtails, will go who knows where, especially if they escape in your house. Because then you have no idea where they're pupating until they come out in the spring. But it just varies as far as like miles and stuff like that. No, but certainly many feet away, actually quite a few feet away. It just varies with the species.
Yeah, it is fascinating. They're hard to find in the wild. I know that I've only stumbled across them a few times. They do an excellent job with their camouflage.
Oh yeah. Again, if you're on the bottom of the food chain, everybody wants to eat you.
Do you know how they can tell whether they're overwintering or coming out immediately? Or not immediately, but after a few weeks?
Yeah, actually, I have that in my book, by the way. Some butterflies, like the regal fritillary, which is a tall grass prairie specialist, they mate in June, but she holds the eggs until fall. And she literally just scatters them over the prairie, hoping that in the spring, when the violets come up, that her poor little caterpillars will find the violets. Because not only does she scatter the eggs, but the larvae, they hatch and they live during the winter as a first star instar without eating. And then they got to hopefully find their violets. As in the swallowtails, almost all of them have 3 broods. Some have 2 broods, and it's kind of about the time. I mean, if it's the middle of summer, you found a caterpillar and you raised it, chances are it's going to emerge as a butterfly, as an adult. And later in the summer or fall, those are probably going to overwinter. But insects overwinter either in the egg state, the larval state, the pupal state, or the adult state. None of the swallowtails overwinter as in the adult, but butterflies in the anglewing group, the eastern comma and question mark and goatweed, those will actually overwinter as adults. They don't primarily feed on flowers, so they feed on like nectar off a damaged tree trunk and stuff like that. So there's all sorts of ways they've figured out how to survive, which is good.
Right, nature is amazing. We are getting many, many, many thank yous and appreciations for your presentation. One person asked
Thank you.
if your Facebook links are public, that if we could share those later. Are they on a page that is viewable? Or is that a private personal page?
Well, yeah, but I think I posted those as public. I'll look at them and change it to public if need be.
I'm just thinking because we will share the link to your presentation that if the videos are available, we can put the links in the description so people could see the videos if that works for you.
Yeah, no, that's no problem. I'm pretty sure I made they're public on my Facebook page, so but I'll double check that and switch it around. Hopefully.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This is exactly what we were hoping to learn more about. So thank you so much.
Okay, well, thank you. Happy
Thank
spring
you,
soon.
Betsy. I'm
Thank you.
looking
All right.
forward to seeing the book. So thank
Okay. Amazon.com.
you. Okay.
Even if you hate Amazon, that's where I sell.
Okay. You have a good evening.
You too.
All right.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.